Welcome, everyone, to the Broker Room podcast. Today we have from Queens, New York, Clinton Botway. Welcome, Clinton.
Hey, Michael, nice to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to have you here. And for those listening who don't know yet, Clinton is the founder of Botway AI and a 15-year real estate broker from New York. So before we dive in, let's start from the beginning. How did you go from selling buildings and managing over 3,500 units at the Heller organization to building your own AI-powered leasing brokerage?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, how did I go from being employed and working with a great team to working on my own? It was really simple. I said, I'm going to go do my own thing. But no, seriously, I had a little bit of a lightning bolt moment on Labor Day of last year. I was talking to a friend who works at Microsoft, and I was explaining my job to him and everything that I do, all of my tasks, and he was like, "Hey, everything that you're telling me can be done by AI." I said, "I think you're right," and that's the whole story. So I've been focused on this since then, and kind of getting started with the path of the idea of a SaaS brokerage or an AI brokerage. I mean, I don't want to say that it's confusing, but there's a ton of tasks that real estate brokers do that I think personally AI can do as good or better. So I'm trying to turn up the temperature on the tasks that AI can do, and then handle client relationships, execution, negotiation, things that an AI can't do or people don't want to do with an AI myself.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's fascinating. So you're essentially, one of the few who decided the traditional model was a little too expensive, too slow, really just needed to be modernized. And so you fixed it with the AI and with your own dashboard. Really, really impressive stuff.
That's the
Yeah.
idea.
And so,
That's the idea.
let's,
I hope so.
oh no, please continue. Sorry.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, so I think building a system that's not personality driven, kind of making the AI be the operator discipline that can scale.
Mhm.
I personally think that the best negotiators, the best real estate brokers that are out there, they have amazing systems, and people, in my experience, don't really care about their personalities. I mean, I think that they're great, but I think personally the broker is a net neutral on a transaction. There's plenty of horror stories that my friends and family and colleagues have dealt with, and after 15 years in the industry, I've also had some horror stories of people just straight up not responding, just as an example, or dramatically overpricing or underpricing something. And I think in general, I just want to empower my clients to make their own best decisions. I don't necessarily think that I can control somebody. I can give them as much information as possible, but at the end of the day, I think people are going to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. And the goal of Botway is just to empower people to do that for themselves, really.
Excellent, excellent. And so, you've been living this AI transformation firsthand. How would you say that AI has already changed the way you run your brokerage day to day? And by extension, where do you see it having the biggest impact on the broader real estate industry over the next few years?
Yeah, great question. Well, I think that AI handles things that are the blocking and tackling, as I call it, of real estate.
Mhm.
If you've done as many transactions as me, you'll know that, 5%, most people ask 95% of the same questions over and over and over again.
Mm.
Usually the questions are already in the listing description, which is fine. And then there's the scheduling a tour, which again, I think can be done by using a simple Calendly link, or not going back and forth a million times over email to schedule something.
Mhm.
Just two really, really simple low level things that I would think most brokers still do manually. I think the higher level, let's say, more executable, more actionable tasks would be updating my clients. So this was actually inspired by two previous clients. One who basically made me and my team use a CRM, the Yardi CRM, to see everything that we're doing in real time. And then another one that was a personal friend of mine who just asked me a simple question, which was like, "Hey, when you get an email in, just BCC me on the email. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see what leads come in, etc." So
Mhm.
what I did was built a console that basically you can see everything that I'm doing in real time.
Uh-huh.
So, we're responding to inquiries 24/7, usually within a minute of uptime, which I think is pretty acceptable when you're sending an email. So basically, you can see everything that I'm doing and that my AI is doing. My idea was to basically build a Bloomberg terminal for anybody who's managing a property that wants to get a look inside their leasing system. So I plugged in basically some data APIs that basically we help you price exactly what your property should be marketed for based on a bunch of different parameters, distance, size, normal stuff. So basically instant valuation, but then in combination with that, it's not necessarily the price, it's what's the strategy for your building? Are you going to refinance in a year? Do you own this free and clear and you just want cash flow? Do you want zero vacancy? Do you not mind a little bit of vacancy, but you want the highest rent possible? So we basically, and there's something there's a new law in New York State that says basically AI cannot price apartments for rent. It can't give you rental prices, which
Mhm.
I thought was kind of ridiculous. So, my idea was essentially have the user, have my client, have the landlord input as much information about themselves and their strategy and their business plan as possible so that it's not the AI giving you a recommendation. It's you give us all of your inputs, and based on that, we'll give you outputs. Again, very similar to a Bloomberg terminal. Bloomberg is never going to tell you this stock is worth this amount of money. It's underpriced by 10% or whatever, and you should buy it. It's not going to say that.
Yep.
Um, and then the final thing there is I built about for each different client type, so sellers, landlords, buyers, renters, I built something called a knowledge base, which is essentially anywhere from 100 to 150 articles about based on auction theory, Nobel winning auction theory, and Nobel winning decision science, which, if you're interested, you could get the book Thinking Fast and Slow, fantastic book.
Uh-huh.
And basically, it will help an LLM. If you give it enough context, an LLM will help you decide what you should do, whether it's take a deal, whether it's counter, whether what specific price, whether it's change the terms, etc. Essentially, again, my idea of giving power back to the consumer, bring your own LLM and plug it into this knowledge base, which is basically just scrape the entire knowledge base. I'm giving it away for free
Uh-huh.
and, give it as much context as possible. And then it'll give you a recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you really found a way to help streamline the whole process for clients, making things certainly a lot more transparent, more convenient, and certainly cost effective as well. So, how long has this, system been in place now?
Yeah, so I'm building it every day. A big part of my day is spent on product. So it's been in place for, well, everything that I just told you about, probably like a week. But the idea
Uh-huh.
I had a while ago, the console I've had for let's say 3 months or something like that, and building on top of it, doing again the simple stuff first. You want to see what I'm doing. That's again not necessarily a simple process to build, but me showing you what I'm doing and then the always on, 24/7 lead response. That's something that we did or that I did immediately.
Yeah.
It's the intelligence, the auction theory. building that out every day more. So yeah, everything's brand new, and a bunch of stuff we're talking about hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, and actually you beat me to it. That was gonna be my next question. So obviously it's only been going for a few months now, so far so good, being constantly updated. Any spoilers you could share for what the future might look like or what, your clients can expect?
Yeah, so part of the founder's journey is talking to as many people as possible, researching as much as possible. I use my own research, but I also utilize Gemini and Claude and ChatGPT, everything, that everybody else has. And what I've kind of realized is that there are there's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is Compass. They hold about 300,000 agents, brokerage licenses, and all over the country. And essentially, they've become a monopoly. They purchased Anywhere Real Estate earlier this year. So that's kind of the big thing that consumers and people like me are watching for basically next year. And we're in the spring selling season as we record this podcast. So we'll see what it actually looks like. But so they're acquiring new firms, increasing headcount as much as possible. I'm kind of trying to do the opposite thing, which is a smarter, leaner execution engine. Uh, no monopoly that I've ever studied in all of the monopolies that exist. Uh, Lower fees for consumers. They traditionally increase fees for consumers, or at least, keep them steady. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what we're seeing. We're seeing um, commissions of around still 5% for the average transaction in America. Since the NAR settlement happened, people thought that commissions were going to come down a lot, but in reality, sellers' commissions came down a bit. But buyers brokers, now that they don't automatically get paid by a seller, they're charging 3% or 3.5%
Yeah.
uh, if the if the price point is let's say too low or something like that. And buyers agents, by the way, they make they earn every dollar that they make because they have to run around with people who might not buy and get them qualified, do negotiating, pricing for all of the different properties that their clients are looking at. And then either the client won't necessarily buy something, or you've just had to learn like 30 different products in a short amount of time. What am I talking about here? Where am I going with this? So the reality is that 85% of sellers, which is what I'm focused on, sellers and landlords, 85% of sellers only interview one real estate agent. So that's basically it's a opportunity for people like me to educate the consumer. And there's, as part of the NAR settlement, the Department of Justice actually said something interesting, which I was reading over this weekend. And they said that the flat fee real estate brokerage model, which is basically like you can list your home for $150 on the MLS, or $2,000 or $500. There's a bunch of different options out there. That's the best way to lower fees. So I'm thinking to myself, if I'm really going to truly do a SaaS brokerage and hand the power back to the people, I should be offering this service for free. So that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm building as we speak. A way for people to list their home on the MLS, which feeds out to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, anywhere, all of the not independent, ILSs, basically for free. And then you can do it yourself, sell your property yourself, open your knowledge base that I'm providing to you, bring your own LLM, have your LLM scrape my knowledge base, and do yourself. for free. And now, if you find that it's too difficult, or you're answering all of these inquiries and you don't actually have time for it, you don't want to deal with being a real estate broker yourself, you could hire me for 1%. And that's kind of the idea that I'm kicking around right now, is giving it all away for free.
No, I like that though, because, it's just not only does it provide, pretty much unmatchable experience for the consumer, but, it can also be a win-win because, if they don't want to, take that route, like you just said, they can go to you for 1%. So, either way, like I said, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And there's just because I'm giving it away for free doesn't mean I can't make some referrals, like to photographers or stagers, or copywriters or showing agents, anything like that. Just because something is free doesn't mean I won't make $0, but if they want to do it all themselves, that's fine too.
Yeah, very empowering. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And so I want to zoom out a little bit here. And again, thank you for sharing. That's certainly a lot to look forward to. What would you say the biggest trends you're seeing right now in New York and the tri-state leasing market? And on the flip side, what are the top challenges you think landlords and brokers are going to be dealing with this year?
Good question. So, I'll answer kind of on the macro first. So, at the time of recording, we have interest rates that are somewhere between 6% and 6.5%, depends who, what, where, when, why, and employment and everything like that. So, interest rate environment is still a bit high, I would say. In the grand scheme of things, it's not. If you look at a 50-year chart or something like that, but the reality is that 60% of home owners have a mortgage that is sub 4%. I happen to be one of those people, so I can speak from experience. The Unless you've really done well at work and your income is significantly higher, maybe you did really well in the stock market or something like that. If you buy the same home, probably for the same amount of money, which, by the way, prices have gone up, your monthly outlay is something between 2 and 3 times for your mortgage, depending, again, what interest rate and what price you're buying into, etc. So people are stuck. At the same time, I would say nationally and locally to the tri-state area, the spring selling season hasn't been as crazy. Again, this is generally for home sales. We can include condos and co-ops and townhouses and everything like that in there as well for sales. It's pulled back a little bit, mostly I think because of the war, and inflation is still rising a bit. The flip side of that is, and for sales, just on a national level, we're about 8 to 10 million housing units short of where we should be. That trend started during the great financial crisis, in 2007, 8, 9, and we just haven't been building as much. Again, it's due to inflation, it's due to construction costs, everything like that. Everything has gotten more expensive. The only thing you can really build is luxury that pencils or affordable. That's a generalized statement, but for leasing specifically, that's a boon for landlords. So I've already seen and heard bidding wars happening for free market apartments. If it's a free market apartment, meaning you can charge anything you want for it, and it's in a good location, the housing quality is good. It's, let's say an elevator doorman building in Manhattan. If it's priced correctly, you're going to get a ton of interest, and it's possible you could get into a bidding war. And if you again, this is goes back to what I'm building. If you don't have the capability to lease these apartments yourself, and you don't know what your broker is doing, and they're giving you one rental application, let's say, to approve, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what is hiding beneath the surface. You don't know if you've massively underpriced your unit and you had 100 different showings and 10 applications, and your broker made the decision for you to give you what they think is the best deal possible. But if you get only two people interested in the same apartment, you have two options. you can just take the best price and terms that exist, between the two, or the best applicant. Or if everything is, let's say they're essentially equally desirable from their for their terms and for their employment, income, credit, all that good stuff, rental payment history. You can have a bidding war, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely legal. It's completely within your right in a fair market situation. To have a bidding war, and you never know what you're going to get. You might get an earlier move-in date. You might be able to charge an amenity fee where people were negotiating it against or negotiating it off. You just don't know what you're going to get. So if you're in a free market situation and you have multiple bidders, you should absolutely be doing running a small auction process. If you get 100 people through the door and you have 10 applications, then we have a real live auction on our hands, and there's no reason that the landlord shouldn't get the best tenant with the best terms, the best move-in date, the best tenant profile possible. And if your broker is not doing that, and if you can't see that your broker is doing that one way or the other, you should secret shop your broker, and you should see what they're doing and see what the process looks like.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm in full agreement. And, it looks like with what you're building, you're certainly well positioned to help counteract and address those concerns in the markets, going forward this year. So, again, kudos to you on that. Really incredible what you've done so far. And, as we're coming up on time here, one thing I always like to ask, towards the end of these sessions is, if somebody is looking to get into your realm, let's say, tomorrow, what's some advice you would give them starting out, in this environment?
You mean like if somebody wants to become a real estate broker, or what?
Yes,
Uh,
and I apologize. Yes, somebody wants to become a broker, and let's say they want to specialize in leasing, too, similar to your niche.
Sure, sure. So if you want to get into leasing in New York City, you're crazy. No, just kidding. No, it's a fast-paced, fun environment. I don't want to say that it's easy to get clients or get deals, but the great part about leasing is that if either if you work for a landlord directly under a management company, or a third-party manager, or a brokerage representing landlords like I do, it's an enterprise relationship. It's a view into portfolio management and property management. If that's something that's of interest to you, it's one part of a beautiful tapestry of the built world that we call real estate. The money, I will say, is quicker than doing sales. I always used to say, and I still say, I would rather rent three $5,000 apartments than sell something that's $500,000. You're gonna get paid faster. You're gonna do, I don't want to say less work, but it's a shorter, more intense um, amount of work, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's a lot more fun. I think it's a lot more, not necessarily challenging, but you're compressing essentially, you if something is priced right, you can rent it within 24 or 48 hours. Again, if you have the right tools in place. It's, I don't wanna say impossible, but it's very, very, very unlikely that you're gonna sign a contract, on a home, to represent the seller, or, represent a buyer in 24 or 48 hours. It's, next to impossible. I've never personally done it. 30 days, 60 days, absolutely possible. Maybe after a weekend of a intense open house, maybe and subsequent bidding war, potentially you could sell something within a week, but it's leasing is a lot of fun. Um, I would say um, get in with a firm that has relationships, learn from somebody already who already has business, get a mentor, and just mirror everything that they do if they're top performer in their field. So I'd say get a mentor, do as much research as possible about your product type, become an expert, specialize in something, or you could, and then after 15 years of doing it, you can tear it all down and become a generalist like me.
Absolutely. Very helpful. Thank you, Clinton. And, this has been really fantastic. You're literally helping usher in the future of real estate brokerage right now. Lower fees, better, more transparent data, and faster deals. So, really appreciate you all you've been doing. And before we wrap, where's the best place for our audience to learn more about Botway AI and follow what you're building?
Yeah, so please visit my website, botway.ai. My email address is clinton@botway.ai. That's my real name. Real last name is Botway, so I figure I had to do something with it. And if this doesn't work out, I'll figure out the next AI business to start with it. But but yeah, I post on LinkedIn occasionally. My podcast, The Operator's Playbook, is live as well. YouTube, all the socials. Follow me. Reach out if you think what I'm doing is interesting. I'd love to talk to you and do a TikTok dance with you. So
All right. Very good. Thank you again, Clinton. Really appreciate you. It's been an absolute pleasure. You take care.
thanks so much, Michael. All right.